As the nationwide conversation continues about racism, more people are shifting their viewpoints to try to gain a better understanding of different cultures. That is why symbols such as the Washington football team's former logo and the Hiawatha statue in La Crosse are now deemed inappropriate. Reporter Allante Walker is digging deeper into a new call from members of the state's indigenous communities.
Well, now to that big decision from Washington's NFL team finally agreeing to drop its controversial name and logo after decades of pressure.
The City Board of Park Commissioners unanimously voted to proceed with the removal of the Hiawatha statue.
Lining Kugels is planning to retire its logo, which features the image of a Native American woman.
At a time of reckoning over racial injustice, big changes are happening on both the local and national scale. Some Native Americans say the names and figures meant to honor them are racially insensitive, and it leads to an appropriation of identity. They believe those stereotypes often overshadow real people of prominence.
There was no Jim Thorpe out there. There was no Jesse Ed Davis out there, etc. It was all this old Land O'Lakes butter, Lining Kugel. And so getting an education, it really took off. Started to research and found that, yeah, this is really awful, and worse, it's psychologically harmful to Native American youth.
Right now, a Wisconsin resolution aims to retire Native American mascots and logos in public schools. The author of the proposal says school districts should focus on complying with Act 31, the law that requires students to learn about the American Indian nations and tribal communities in the Badger State.
It is never good educational policy to stereotype against an entire race of people. If we want to truly honor Native Americans in Wisconsin, then let's start with that, making sure that we truly and accurately teach not only history, but existence in modern day society.
If the resolution passes, there are nearly 30 school districts that may have to change their mascot, including Prairie du Chien and Seneca. We reached out to both school districts, but they did not respond for comment. A decade ago, GET voted to make the switch from their previous name in favor of the Red Hawks moniker. The school district's current leader was not at the helm in 2010, but says she was part of the wave of change at other Wisconsin schools, where community input proved to be vital.
Portage, they created original artwork, but here they did the same thing. So our Red Hawk here is an original design. It wasn't just something they took off clip art. They got something that was unique to this school, and you won't see it anywhere else. It's GET's Red Hawk, and that way it's special to them. They own this, right? And we want to display that with pride.
While Butler acknowledges that the process of changing a mascot is easier said than done, she thinks the outcome beats the initial outcry.
There's always a few people that are upset, possibly even years later, but most people, once they grab onto that new logo, it becomes who they are.
And that proposal Allante mentioned will be brought before the Wisconsin Association of School Boards next month. A similar resolution was struck down back in January, but Zunker is optimistic that it will pass this time around if approved. The WASB can urge state lawmakers to enact legislation to address the matter.